It's the Mike Schickman Show. News Talk 550 and 92.1 WSVA.
Mike Schickman Show on a Wednesday. We are very pleased to have Mr. Justin Danhof. He is the General Counsel and Director of the Free Enterprise Project for National Center for Public Policy Research. He previously worked as a research associate with the National Center for Public Policy Research. Prior to joining the National Center, he worked in Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office in the Economic Crimes and Cyber Crimes Division and for the Massachusetts Alliance for Economic Development and at the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Today, among other things, we are going to be talking about the National Center and Starbucks. And first of all, Justin Danhof, welcome to the Mike Schickman Show. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Mike. I appreciate it.
It is really my pleasure. A couple of things. Number one, let's talk a little bit about Starbucks. I just saw a new Starbucks piece today that says that the executives with folks at Starbucks get 18 weeks, up to 18 weeks of parental leave, while the baristas, they get, 6, 7, 8? Which is typical, it seems, of Starbucks.
Yeah, it's the limousine liberal attitude, right, that kind of pervades through the Starbucks brand, through the founder and recently outgoing CEO, Howard Schultz. He stepped down as CEO on Monday, as a matter of fact, and Kevin Johnson took over. And, what we do at the Free Enterprise Project is we really take a look at publicly traded corporations that are taking actions, whether they be political or otherwise, that harm their investors. And that's really the case that we were looking at with Starbucks. Recently, of course, they made the big headlines for the company's opposition to President Trump's executive order on immigration and travel. So in response to that immigration order, Starbucks, which is a company that sells high-priced coffee, it's a consumer goods company, they came out with a statement very much in opposition to President Trump. They almost view themselves as the opposition party since liberals are out of power almost everywhere in the United States these days. And so they announced they were going to hire 10,000 refugees in response to President Trump. Well, Business Insider, which tracks favorability ratings of companies, noted that in their own words, Starbucks brand has taken a beating since that announcement. Because, of course, if you're going to choose sides as a consumer goods company, one side or the other on a hot-button political issue that largely divides the American public, well, you're naturally going to anger 50% of your potential customer base. And so I went to the Starbucks shareholder meeting with two very simple questions for the CEO on why the company would take an action knowing that it would potentially harm its investors. I asked Mr. Schultz two very simple questions. The first question was economic. I said, look, our own federal government, they recognize and they admit that they can't properly vet refugees from certain regions around the world and that they sometimes lack the resources to do so. And so you're going to hire 10,000 refugees all across the world wherever you have Starbucks locations. How much is it going to cost? I think it's a basic dollar and cents question that any investor would want to know the answer to, whether that investor is, the most liberal investor or the most conservative investor. And he was unable to answer the question in an honest and straightforward way. He, as a matter of fact, preened and peacocked on stage and announced that it was going to cost the company nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. It's just laughable on its face.
But, this isn't the first time they've done this. They had the Christmas debacle 2 years ago, where they used to have little Christmas trees or wreaths on their coffee cups, and they decided to make them holiday cups, and people were upset.
That's right, and they don't have a problem offending conservatives. They don't have a problem offending Christians. And, the cup controversy preceding that was actually another controversy where I believe it was 2013, another investor was curious why, at the time, Starbucks was taking a very strong stance on the issue of gay marriage. And Howard Schultz looked at that investor, and I'm paraphrasing now, but essentially said, if you believe in traditional marriage, we don't want you as a customer, we don't want you as an investor, just get out of the stock altogether. So, he's happy to look at Christians and anybody else that believes marriage is between a man and a woman and believes in traditional marriage, and they don't want you as a customer. So my message to those folks is give Starbucks what they want. If they don't want you around, they don't want you investing in their company, they don't want you buying their coffee, they don't probably want you within 1,000 feet of one of their stores. Give Starbucks what they want. And so, my second question after laughing at his first, response was on the political nature, because what he was trying to tell me was that Starbucks was simply taking a policy position, that Starbucks itself doesn't get political, which is, again, laughable on its face. And so
no, chock full of nuts doesn't get political.
Exactly.
Horn and Hard Art was never political. Maxwell House, as far as I understand, is not political.
That's right. And so, again, we wanted to know why the company would take a position, a political position, and they're trying to deny that it's a political position. But I called them out on that hypocrisy, because I pointed out that, of course, in 2011, we all now know that President Barack Obama and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, while not exactly the same, quite similarly had a travel ban for refugees, specifically from Iraq, that lasted for a period of 6 months. And so we searched, and believe me, we did, for any commentary that Howard Schultz or any Starbucks representative had about the Obama-Clinton travel ban. And, of course, we found none. So I pointed that out, and I said, look, Mr. Schultz, where was your courage in 2011 to speak out against the Obama-Clinton travel ban? If you're saying that you're not taking a political action, that the company is just taking a consistent policy position, where was your consistency in 2011? And, of course, he couldn't answer the question, because that would speak truth to the lie that they just simply take consistent policy positions, when, of course, it's quite clear that Howard Schultz is advancing his personal political agenda through his role as the chairman CEO of Starbucks Corporation.
None of this really makes a lot of sense, but it's funny. It's almost an old-fashioned saying. It is an old-fashioned saying. If you want to send a message, call Western Union. That people in business, people in entertainment business and other businesses should realize that anything they do outside of the bailiwick of what they are can be judged politically. Now, the old-time movie barons understood that, so very rarely did any of their stars go above and beyond, and the one time they got caught on it, of course, was the McCarthy era, which was a pretty legitimate thing when you look at it through the Soviet files after the collapse of the Soviet Union. But be that as it may, this has happened before. The interesting thing, and I have a guest coming on a little bit later named Jamie Bryan Hall, who's going to talk about the actual costs of North Carolina's HB2 bathroom law. And the NCAA has gotten involved. Many other leagues, sports leagues, have gotten involved, and they don't realize how it is affecting their numbers. Do we have any idea how Starbucks stances have affected their numbers?
Well, we know that they've missed their sales estimates repeatedly in the last 4 quarters, and sales, again, are going to be a lagging indicator beyond following, again, what the Business Insider tracked as a lowering of the company's favorability rating among the American public. And so the next 2-quarter sales should be very interesting, indicative of that. And I think that one thing to point out is that more and more corporations are getting involved politically on these types of issues. And for a very long time, the liberal activists were very quick to push back on conservative individuals and conservative thought inside corporate America. But conservatives are finally starting to realize they can have that pushback effect too. We see this in the way that media bias is affecting the bottom lines of certain corporations. ESPN, for example, with its leftward tilt, is shedding viewers by the second. Again, we see Starbucks' brand actually take a reputational hit here. And so conservatives are now becoming more and more aware of what corporations are getting involved in, and they're voting with their wallet, where liberals have voted with their wallet much more successfully and much more often. I mean, take a look. 15 advertisers have already left Bill O'Reilly, The O'Reilly Factor, the number one show on cable news. 15 advertisers have left because the liberal Twitter sphere has gone nuts after anybody that would dare continue to advertise on Bill O'Reilly's show. So the left is much, much better and much, much more organized in this effort to shut out corporations that are deemed to do anything conservative. So I think that conservatives are kind of waking up to this and realizing that, you know, they have spending power too, and they can have influence over corporate behavior as well. And so I think that's what we're starting to see with things like Starbucks and some of the media ratings as well.
Justin Danhof, General Counsel, Director of the Free Enterprise Project of the National Center for Public Policy Research. Thank you very much for being with us. Where can people find out more?
Yeah, come over to our website, nationalcenter.org. You can also find us on Facebook, and we're on Twitter at National Center.
It's a joy to have you on our program, and come back and join us again, won't you?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Justin Danhof, General Counsel and Director of the Free Enterprise Project with the National Center for Public Policy Research. 7 minutes away